Hello everyone, welcome to Dipe Classes. So in the last part of chapter 1, we studied about the history of Java, what is class, object, encapsulation and inheritance. Today in this part, we'll study about a new concept, a characteristics of OOP, that is polymorphism. So let us start. So what is polymorphism? The definition says more than one method or function having same name but unique or different parameters in the same class is known as method or function overloading. And this concept is known as polymorphism. So before coming into this definition, let us first understand what is the English meaning of the word polymorphism. So polymorphism. Let us divide this word into two parts, poly and morphism. So poly means many and morphism means forms. So when a single thing, for example, your mother is a single human being, right? But she has many forms, like first thing, she is your mother. Second, assume that she is a teacher in some school, so she is also a teacher. She is also daughter of your grandfather. Okay, so this same human being has many forms. She is a mother, she is a teacher, and she is also a daughter. Similarly, in this world, many things have more than one form, and that is somehow related to biology. So, like for example, blood. But blood can have many forms, like A, B positive, B negative, right? So it came from biology, polymorphism. Not only in blood, there are many other things where polymorphism concept is used, that a single thing is having many forms. Similarly, in Java, when we will be writing programs, there might be certain programs where one thing will be doing or one thing will be having many different forms. So let us take an example of a small program. I know you don't have started writing programs and I don't want to understand what is in this program, but I will help you that how polymorphism works in program. We'll be doing polymorphism programs in class 10 syllabus, but not in class 9. Class 9 will just understand the definition of what is polymorphism. So definition says more than one methods or functions. Okay. So what is a method or a function? Last part I told that we'll be studying in details what is method or function in class 10. For now, you can just remember. Can you see in this program? This is a small program of polymorphism. And can you see this? Public void DNM, public void DNM int AB, public void DNM int C. You don't have to understand now. I'm not making you understand what is this program. I'm just trying to make you understand what is polymorphism. So can you see this? So this public void, the thing, this public void, this line, this public void line, this public void line. This line, remember for now, this line is known as method or also known as functions. Okay, this line. Just remember in class 9 that wherever public void is written like this, we'll say this line as a method or a function. This part is a method or a function. Again, this part is a method or a function. Again, this part is a method or function. So there are how many methods of function? This is method or function number 1, method or function number 2, and method or function number 3. So there are 3 methods or function in this program, and this program is known as class Dibbye classes. The name of the program is Dibbye classes, we can say. Okay, you don't have to go much details into the program right now. We'll just understand what is method or function. So here it is written more than one method or function having same name. So it should have more than one function. In this program we have 3 functions, 1, 2 and 3. And do you know what is the name of the function? It is saying that more than one method or function having same name. The name of this function is, you can see here, DNM. 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 The DNM here is the name of the function. And all these 3 functions are having the same name, that is DNM. A function should actually have different names, like public void A, public void B, and the last one, third one should be public void C. But here all the 3 functions are having the same name, public void DNM, public void DNM, and again public void DNM. But unique or different parameters in the same class. Okay, unique or different parameters. Can you see this part? I'm highlighting this more in details now. For example, public void DNM. This was the first method. We can see from here. This was the first method, public void DNM. Okay. Where DNM is the name, and you can see this brackets, round brackets. This area is known as a parameter. So in this program we can see that in the first case the parameter is empty, there is nothing written inside it. But in the second case, it is written as int A, int B. In the third case it is written int C. So here there is nothing, here there are 2 and here there is 1. So we can say that they are different. Okay, they are different. Here it is nothing, here there are 2 and here there are only 1. So this we can say that this is known as function or method overloading. This is known as method or function overloading. This concept of the same function, that is DNM is the method or function, it is taking 3 forms, right? It is taking 3 forms. It is written 3 times. This concept is known as polymorphism. Since the same function is taking more than 1 forms, okay, same function is taking more than 1 forms. It is written 3 times. Therefore, this is known as polymorphism. And when this happens, it is known as function overloading, because we are using the same function name 3 times. And you should also see that all these 3 functions, that is DNM, int A, int B, and DNM int C, is present inside one class, that is Dibbye classes, as the definition says. So all these 3 functions, or all the functions which are being overloaded, should be present within the same class and not in different classes. Like there is class A, class B and class C, and DNM is in class A also, B also and C also. No, This is not function overloading. In function overloading, all this function of same name, having same name, should be present inside the same class. And here the class is Divya classes. So now what is overloading? Overloading means you have a certain capacity. For example, you can do only one work at a time, but your father is telling to clean your room, your mother is telling to bring milk from shop, and your grandfather is telling to help him bring a cup of tea. Okay, at the same time, but you know you can do only one thing. So here it is being overloaded because you cannot do all the three things simultaneously. This is called overloading. So you have to do one by one. Okay, so this overloading concept in Java is known as polymorphism. When one thing is doing more than one function is doing more than one thing, we call it overloading, and this concept is known as polymorphism. So let us understand by another example. So you have your birthday and you've invited many of your friends, like almost the whole school, because it is your 15th birthday and you want to celebrate in a grand way. And from the whole class 9 or class 10, you called your friends and there is a big party in your house, and you know that Abhishek is a common name, and there are 15 Abhishek right now in your house, and out of this, one of your friend whose name is Abhishek, his mother comes and asks that there is some urgent work and like Abhishek, and your house is like there are like 100 150 friends right now, and there are 15 Abhishek. So which Abhishek? Assuming that they don't have any surname. Okay, so now uh, his mother will tell that how he looks. So here are some emojis of different kind of faces. uh, so like there is Abhishek who always smile, there is Abhishek who always laughs, there is Abhishek who always shows his teeth, there is Abhishek who has a habit of like always flicking his eyes, and there is a Abhishek who wears glasses every time, and there are different types of faces. So this represent 15 because they might be having same name, but they have different facial expressions. So here it is overloading. Why it is overloading? Because all the 15 are having same name. Assume that each Abhishek is one function. So here each function is having the same name, that is Abhishek. The first one is Abhishek, the second one is Abhishek, the third one is Abhishek, the fourth one is Abhishek. Everyone is Abhishek. So how will we differentiate them? We can differentiate them by having a different parameter. And here the parameter is how they look. Okay, so this is known as function overloading and polymorphism. Many forms, all Abhishek, but they have different faces. So we can say that here the function overloading is happening and the concept of polymorphism is used. The same thing means people with same name but with different face. And the example, I will tell you a story. So there was this small boy in your school, and someone stole his chocolate. He had a dairy milk and someone stole his chocolate. So he went to the principal and complained that Montu from class 9. Montu is another boy, but he actually doesn't know his real name. He knows his pet name, that is Montu, has stolen his chocolate and he studies in class 9. So now the principal wants to find Montu to punish him because why he stole his chocolate. The teacher sent another boy, not this one, another boy, to go to class 9 and ask for Montu. So in class 9 there is not a single class, but it has 3 sections: class 9A, class 9B and class 9C. So this boy goes to all the sections A, B and C to search for Montu. And the problem was, in section A there were 11 Montus. In section B there are 13 Montus. And in section C there are 9 Montus. What to do now? Which Montu has stolen the chocolate? He is not going to say by himself, obviously, because he will get scolded and beaten. So now he returns back to the principal and says that every section has so many Montus. You are asking for which Montu? Because obviously the class teacher will not leave everyone. The class will be almost half empty. So now the principal asks, which Montu? So again he said that a Montu of class 9B. Montu of class 9B. So now again there is a problem. In class 9B there are 13 Montus. So here with same name there are many people. So here a overloading kind of situation is created. So we have to find some parameter to differentiate them. Some parameter to differentiate them. So now this guy has the copy of Montu. Somehow he has one, a note copy, and there means now he doesn't have, but he had, and he remembered that it was written roll number 23. He have seen somewhere, maybe they travel by auto rickshaw to they live in the same area, they travel in auto rickshaw, and somehow he remembers that, yeah, I remember his roll number was 23, though I don't remember his original name, but somehow he remembers his roll number, which is 23, because both of them has roll number 23. Therefore he remembers that yes, mine and his roll number is same, that is 23. Now roll number is the parameter, because in class 9B there may be many Montus, but it is not possible that two people will have the same roll number, because same roll number is unique. Roll number is a unique parameter. So when function overloading concept arises, we can differentiate functions from other functions by thinking of a unique parameter. The parameter should be unique, it cannot be same, and whenever it is unique, the function overloading will work, the polymorphism concept will work. So this is just an example of polymorphism. The actual programmings will be done in class 10. Okay, so now next we'll move to the new concept, the next concept, that is data abstraction. Before that, I will see last year board questions. It has come over the years in 2006, 2007, 2009, and many more times in class 10 board exam. In 2006, it came explain function overloading with an example where you have to write the definition of function overloading. An example for now, you can give example like in a class there might be same. For example, in your class 9 section C, there are 3 guys whose name are Praveen, but the unique parameter is their roll number. So same name but unique parameters. The unique parameter here is roll number. So this is an example of function overloading, and this concept is known as polymorphism. But in class 10, when we will study about polymorphism programs, you can write those examples. In 2007, the question came, which OOP principle implements function overloading? So polymorphism is the OOP principle which implements function overloading. When there are multiple definitions with the same function name, what makes them different from each other? So when there are more than one functions and all the function are having same name, how to make them different? The parameter will make them different from each other. So now we'll move to data abstraction. So what is data abstraction? Representation of essential features without including background details or explanation is known as data abstraction. I think you know about the word abstract. Somehow related to summary. So for example, you have read a beautiful storybook, a novel of 350 pages, and your teacher asks that tell me the story of this book in few words. So you will do what? You will write a summary, and sometimes known as an abstract. So in an abstract, what you will do? You will only talk about the important things that are in the story. You're not going to tell everything, but the important thing, the real things you want to highlight in the story. Not all the 350 pages, right? Out of these 350 pages, there might be like 15 to 20 instances where the story can be highlighted. So you are like shortening this story into like 2 pages, and you are only giving the important points of the story. So data abstraction is like that. Data abstraction, what will do? There are many things, but you will only display the important things. That is what the definition says. Representation of essential features. There are many features in a program, but you want to showcase only few of them, which are actually essential. So this is known as data abstraction, without including the background details or explanation. Let us understand what is this. For example, let us take a Java program which we are already using, that is a WhatsApp application. Everyone uses WhatsApp for communication. The WhatsApp program is written in Java. Not only in Java, there are many other scriptings done using it, but for now think that the WhatsApp program is written in Java. Do you think it will be a small program? No, it will be like thousands of pages. Okay, so it is a big program. So to use the WhatsApp, do you need to learn this 1000+ page program? No, you just need to learn the essential features of this program. Essential features means you need to know how to type a message. How to send? You have this arrow in WhatsApp. When you click this, the message will be sent. How to send message? How to send photos? How to send voice messages? How to create groups? Right? You don't have to remember the whole program. Do you need to learn Java and the whole program to use WhatsApp? No. You just need to know how to type, how to send messages, how to send photos, how to upload videos, how to create groups, and similar, how to forward, how to reply, and this kind of things. So you don't need to know everything, but only the essential features. So the person who has written WhatsApp, what he has done is he is showing you only the essential features, the beautiful WhatsApp app, green in color, and all the photos of your friends, and all the contacts in a synchronized order, and everything, smileys and everything. But you're not seeing this program that is actually written, because if you see it, it will be little bit dangerous, because what all these lines are written and I'm not understanding anything. Okay, so what he is doing is, the programmer is doing is, he's hiding the whole program, but only showing the essential things. This is known as data abstraction. For example, in real life world, there are example like a switchboard. Okay, so there is a switchboard. In the switchboard there are two switches. One switch is for the fan, another switch is for the light. So you just have to know that if I use this switch, it will switch on and off the fan, and if I use this switch, it will switch on or switch off the light. Do you need to know that how it is working? Like means like how the wires are connected to the fan, or how the wires are connected to the light? Do you need to know that how the current is flowing and everything? No. If you know, it is very good, because you have more knowledge. But is that essential to know, to switch on the fan, that how the wires are connected and everything? No. You need not know how the wires are connected. You just have to know that if I switch on this one, then the fan will work. If I switch on and off this one, the light will work. That is known as data abstraction. So what are the advantages of data abstraction in Java? This also is a data hiding concept. And data hiding means nothing but protecting the data. If you hide, means you're protecting it. If you're hiding your chocolate inside your pocket, means you want to protect it. If you're not hiding it, people will see and they'll snatch from you. So hiding means nothing but protecting. So both, in last part also we talked about encapsulation, wrapping up of data, it hides the data, right? And data abstraction. Both this principle of OP supports data hiding, that is protecting data. So how data abstraction protects the data? Since you're not showing the whole program, but only the essential part. For example, let us take again the example of WhatsApp. The guy who has made WhatsApp is not showing the program, but only what is required. So he is basically also protecting his data, because if we show you the program and somehow you do something and change the program, then the WhatsApp will be behaving abnormally. For example, you want to send, you're angry with your friend and you want to send, you want to scold your friend and you want to send him a message. But unfortunately, someone has done some badmashi here and has changed the program, and when you send to your friend, it will go to your mother. And the situation will be more dangerous. Okay. So when you hide the actual things and just show what is essential, you are basically also hiding the data, and that is nothing but you are protecting the data. So data abstraction and encapsulation both supports the concept of data hiding or data protection. So all the programs in Java, all the programs, from the first program you will be writing in future class to the last program of your life, it will be like some 12 million, 13 million programs if you are becoming a software engineers, right? So many programs you will be writing. We don't know how many programs, infinite number of programs you will be writing. All these programs are encapsulated, and all these programs are using the concept of data abstraction and both encapsulation. Okay, it is by default. All programs are encapsulated and are using the concept of data abstraction. In 2010, the question came, what do you mean by the term data abstraction? Explain with an example. So here you will write the definition of data abstraction: representation of essential features without including the background details or explanation is known as data abstraction. You can give many examples. Like first you can write that all the programs in Java are using the concept of data abstraction. You can write a small program, and you can give real life examples like the switchboard. You just need to know how to switch on and switch off a light or a fan, but not how the wires are connected. Car driving, you just need to know what is a gear, what is a steering, how to switch on the car, right? Only this thing, but you don't need to know that how when you change the gear, how the speed is changing and everything. Similarly, mobile phone, you just need to know that when I press this thing, this will happen. You need not know that what happens inside the mobile phone when I press the screen or press a button. Okay, so you just need to know the essential features without all the background details which are not necessary to know. This is known as data abstraction. So for this part of chapter 1, we have covered data abstraction and polymorphism. In the next part of chapter 1, we'll start with the difference or the comparison between POP and OOP programming languages. So till then, have a nice day, and we'll meet soon. Thank you.